thank God for the lighthouse. Lord, I owe my life to Him. You see, Jesus is the lighthouse. And from the rock to Him, and shone His light of love around me. And I really see just what it wasn't for the lighthouse. Tell me where was my defeat? Yes, they would praise God in different ways. But as long as the anointing is there, then God will have His way. I don't know what you feel sometimes, but I got to praise Him the way I know how. I have to praise Him according to my testimony. And God has done a lot of good things for me. That's why I got to give Him all the praise. I'm not going to waste my voice at a baseball game. I'm not going to waste my voice clapping hands for some Grammy award. But I'm going to lift up my voice like a trumpet. And I'm going to let the world know that Jesus lives. Jesus lives. And I want you to know that He's alive inside of me. But why you're so emotional? Well, what you think a man on fire don't act like? My soul is burning. My soul's on fire. And when you're on fire, you can't sit still. What do you think happens to a drunk man? I've been drunk in the Holy Ghost. I've been drunk in the Holy Ghost. And I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. I don't mind expressing. When you get angry, you express it, don't you? Even the quiet gets loud. Those that are not emotional, when they get angry, get emotional. I get emotional when I talk about Jesus. I feel the power of the Holy Ghost and the anointing of the Most High God is upon me. If you're coming from the Holy Ghost, you're in the right house. If the devil's on your back, you're in the right house. All the doors are shut and the Holy Ghost is coming out. I'm a double chaser. Bishop, the devil coming to get you. When I was a young convert, I used to talk faith, and the deacon used to say, shh, shh, shh. I said, what, deacon? Don't say that, the devil gonna hear you. The devil gonna hear that I got faith in God. He said, shh, shh, shh. Don't say that, ha, because the devil gonna hear you. Well, deacon, ha, I'm gonna say that, ha, and the devil can hear me, ha. Come right in me, that is in me, ha, and he that is in the world. Get all power, good people, get all power, get all power, get all power with me. Let's talk about it.
Yes, Lord.
May the Holy Ghost, that's the word of exhortation.
Yes, Lord.
May the Holy Ghost give us a word of understanding. 2 Corinthians. What chapter?
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Beginning at
verse 6.
Read.
Sufficient to such a man is this punishment, which was inflicted of many, so that contrariwise ye ought rather to forgive him and comfort him, lest perhaps such a one should be swallowed up with overmuch sorrow. Wherefore I beseech you that ye would conform your love toward him. For to this end also did I write, that I might know the proof of you, whether ye be obedient in all things. To whom ye forgive anything, I forgive also. For if I forgive anything to whom I forgave it, for your sakes forgave I it in the person of Christ. Lest Satan should give an advantage of us. For we are not ignorant of his devices.
Blessed God, we thank you, Lord Jesus. There was understanding. You're not wicked at ignorance anymore. So is the enemy. Manifest him. Bring out his ways that we may know, that we may walk victoriously in you. In Jesus' name, church, amen.
Amen.
We want to talk about a little bit about some of Satan's devices.
All right.
Some of the tricks that he uses. In the book of 1 Corinthians, around the 5th chapter, there was a man who had sinned a great sin. He had touched his father's wife. Not his mother, but his father's wife, his stepmother. And nobody got upset with him. As a matter of fact, they still walked around as though nothing happened. When Paul heard about it, he said, why are you puffed up letting people go around sinning? And sinning in the church, sins that they don't even commit in the world. Paul said, your boasting is not good. He said, I'm going to tell you what you do. You get that individual, and when you come together, my spirit with you, and I send my spirit, he said, you give such a one's flesh over to the devil that he may learn. And they did so. So now Paul is rewriting them, and he's commending them. He said, I gave you those instructions to test your obedience, to see if you would stand up against sin. Your bishop sometimes tells you somebody needs to cry out against those that are rebellion, to test your obedience, to see who will stand up against sin. And Paul said, but now to whosoever you forgive, I forgive. If the man has repented, if the people repent, then forgive them. He said, if you forgive them, I forgive them. That's one way of destroying Satan's devices, by forgiving. It keeps envy and strife and bitterness and jealousy from coming in. It keeps you from being oppressed and being burdened all the time. The Holy Ghost is upon me. You see, sometimes God will allow certain things to come your way so that you can be manifested. A lot of times people respond in different ways, waiting for a way out. And then God will allow something preacher to come up before them. Then their spirit is disturbed and then they disappear. The truth of the matter is they were already out, the spirit. The Lord just allowed the spirit to be tested and to be tried. Amen? And for them to be manifested as to what was really in them. I learned a long time ago, I learned the hard way in young ministry. When you don't discipline, and so discipline in the church, by the time the people that are causing it, by the time they leave, you may feel relieved, but the seeds they planted are everywhere. Yes. And you have the same problem over and over and over and over again. And it is not just the preacher's job to keep it kept clean, it's everybody's job. Amen. Everybody is responsible for speaking up for Jesus because we are all the church. The church is not the building. We are the temple of God. And whatever you join yourself to, you become one with. And so when people bring in rebellion and don't want to let it go, they're bringing in idolatry into the fold. Somebody needs to speak up because your heart is being tried. But to the repentant, when we forgive, the devil has no weapon to use against you. He can't cause you to strike out because you have forgiven. He can't lure you with that pain and that sorrow because you have forgiven. When you forgive people, you set them free and you deliver yourself. You may remember what you've been through so you don't make the same mistakes or be hurt again in the same way. Know them and labor among you. But when you forgive, that takes away the weapon of Satan to use strife and envy. But then he goes on and he talks. He says, for we're not ignorant. You don't want to be ignorant of how Satan fights. And I want to talk about, I mentioned this a long time ago, but I want to talk about one device that is very powerful. And that a lot of people don't realize that it's the devil. You know, in the military, they have the infantry, they have different branches. Green Beret, Rangers, Marine has Navy SEALs. And they have special force and special attack people. And I used to minister to quite a few Marines down here at the Marietta Marine Base. The Marines used to say, if their sergeant say, jump, while they jump in the air, they say, how high? Sometimes I go on the base and preach, and when they were playing taps and lowering the flag, I didn't know to stand still. And I'm just walking and talking, and both Marines was having a fit. Bishop, be still! Walking across the grass and everything, they pulling out their head. I didn't know. But I gained a great reputation. The man at the gate would always let me in. And they told me that they had several officers that were Christians, so I decided to have my liberty. So I went up to the base. I preached 3 days and 3 nights without sleep. I didn't leave the base. And one of the commanding officers came and said, "You still here?" I said, "I'm still preaching." I'm saying to myself, I thought y'all was preachers. That's what I was told, so I went and preached crazy. 3 days and 3 nights, son. And when I finally left, that's when I had that freak accident. The devil tried to kill me in a car accident. But God spared me. I guess he didn't like me preaching. But God is able. Amen. But now, there is one individual that every enemy fears. There's one tactic that everybody has to have somebody that's a specialty in it, whether it be on the good side of the law, the bad side of the law. In the war, on your side, the enemy side, this person is deadly because you don't see him. And he's an expert. He's called a sniper. I want to talk about demonic snipers. A sniper, a good sniper, at so many yards, hundreds of feet away where you can't even see, can take you out. That was one of the most deadliest enemies on any side. Watch out for the snipers, because men will be dropped right next to you. You don't even know where it's coming from. You can't see him, but he can see you. So the sniper shoots you from a distance. And one of the tricks of the devil is if he can't get you close up, if he can't defeat you one-on-one, he's going to put a sniper on you. He's going to try to shoot you up the road, long distance, let you go for a while, and then catch you. And how that works is this. When you overlook bad habits, sin problems, even inferiority and different complex you may have received from a child up, when you overlook things inside of you that are not right, that causes you to make the wrong moves, respond in the wrong way, that brings depression, suicidal oppression, things that make you want to give up, walk away, and things that cause you to even indulge in things you really don't want to, but you don't get these things out of you. Bruises and hurts and pains you have received in life. And many people have gone through molestation and abuses. Many people have gone through verbal abuse, physical abuse, things of this sort. Many people have been bruised and wounded in their own home by friends, loved ones, and what have you, by their own minds, but they never dealt with those problems or weaknesses. But yet you're still functioning. And the devil tries to use these things upon you, but you manage to keep going. Sometimes the devil will back off and let you grow up in life and let you live your life. And you think you're all right, but see, those things are still there because you never dealt with them. And when you get up the road in life, ready to start your life or ready to go on, all of a sudden, everything comes crashing down. The things that were hidden in you that you didn't deal with. A demonic sniper pulls the trigger. And from a distance, that devil begins to destroy you with the very things that were hidden in you. You become the devil's sucker. And I'm going to tell you why I use the word S-U-C-K, sucker. There was a boy next door when I was a little boy, cousin of my friends, and he was rough. But back in them days in St. Louis, we used to have rock fights, not toys. And when we get up and get behind them big old Chevys and we throw rocks. We was pretty good at it, dodging and hiding. And I was out there with my little brother, we were playing rocks. I was playing rocks with Monksy and his cousin playing rocks. We were doing pretty good. And my mama came outside, it was dark. She said, "Larry, y'all come in the house." So I get up, there's my mother, break. Mom's out. So we walking. And right when we got in the backyard, I was a long ways away. I heard somebody say, "See you later, sucker." I didn't turn around. And all of a sudden, I felt a big rock hit me dead in my head. Boom! And I kept walking. All I could say was, "Oh, man." I said, "I'm glad I was in front of my little brother Tony and Mama, because it would have hit them." I got in the house, I sat next down to my big brother. I said, "Mike, can you beat up amongst your cousins? I want nobody to pay back." He said, "I don't know, lad." Why? I didn't say nothing. I'm rubbing my head. You see, when the devil can't bring you down right away, if he can keep you from dealing with the problem, he'll let you go for a while. But you know, demons come back.
That's right.
Spirits come back.
Amen.
And while you think you got away, he's going to take a rock and hit you in the back of the head and call you a sucker because you think it's over. But it's not. A good lesson in that is Samson. Samson was a mighty man chosen by God to protect the people of God from the Philistines. And he was full of folly. Appeared to be somewhat immature, but when the Spirit of God came upon him, he was stronger than 1,000 men. And one day God allowed Samson, put it in his heart to go marry a Philistine woman, which was against the law. And he went to his father and said, "Listen, go talk to this woman's father because I want to marry his daughter." And the father said, "Well, Samson, you know, we being Hebrew, we don't marry Gentiles." He said, "But I want to marry her." And the scripture says, but the father didn't know that God was allowing Samson to go that way so that the Philistines could make him mad so that he could destroy him. God was not going to let that marriage go on anyway. But he wanted to find an occasion to destroy the enemy. And so Samson's father went and talked to the man. The man agreed to give his daughter. So they had a dinner. And Samson, showing out, on his way to the dinner, he killed a lion, if I'm correct. And when he came back, the thing was dead and bees had made a hide in it. And so when he got to the dinner, he made a parable. What was something like strong as a lion would have as sweet as honey. And he gave the parable. He told the Philistines, "If you men can break this parable, I'll give you each a piece of clothing." And he left. Nobody could figure it out. So they went to their sister, meaning the woman that Samson was going to marry was one of them. See, you may fall in love with the world, but as long as you're walking with Jesus, the world will never truly love you. And when you put your foot down, you'll find out where you stand, where your family members stand, where those that sit next to you stand. When you make a stand for holiness, and you'll find out who's for God and who's not. The Spirit of God is upon me. So each of you need to be careful of that final test that God will put before you to show that you're not with him. It comes to all of us to try our hearts. I feel a virtue. Some of you are saying right now, that's what's happening to me. Yes, it is. That's what's happening to you. The Lord told me to tell you, church, you have to be sure of your words. Talk is cheap. Stop just talking. Mean what you say. Make sure of what you say. Understand what you're saying. Make every word count, because you shall be judged for every single word you say. In the deepness of your thought, I wish I could never get out of here. Watch yourself, because you'll find yourself out of here. So be careful. And so the Lord will allow all of us to be tested and tried to see where we stand. And some people are looking for a way out, but there is no excuse. You can find no fault in him. Now listen to this. They came to the woman and they said, "You go to Samson and you find out what that riddle is." So she went to Samson and said, "Samson, tell me the meaning of the riddle." Samson said, woman, I'm not going to tell you anything. You're going to go back and tell your countrymen. She said, no, tell me the riddle. He says, no. And she pressed him with her emotions. She began to cry. And she began to look at him and say, you don't love me. Because if you love me, you will tell me. God help those that put emotions on you. And you don't love me, because if you love me, you will tell it all. When you tell it all, they can't stand you. Watch those who use their emotions just to get it out of you, but their heart's not in it. And he pressed her. She kept pressing him. You don't love me. You don't care anything for me. If you would, you would tell me. And it got so strong that it vexed his soul, he gave in and told her. And when he got back to the party, he said, who knows the riddle? Everybody in the house knew it. His heart was broken. And these were his words. You would have never guessed it if you had not have messed with my heifer. So he kept his word. Now he had to come up with 30 pieces of clothing. He went out and killed 30 Philistines. You know, God was trying to give him a reason. He went out and killed 30 Philistines and came back and gave him clothes. And they got mad. He never married a woman. They took the woman and her husband and her daddy and burned them. He got mad. Took 300 foxes, put torches on their tails, and tied 300 foxes up. A man kept the 300 foxes. And lit all the torches and sent them into all the harvest, the corn and the wheat of the Philistines, and burned all their crops. They got mad, and they came to the land of Benjamin, because he was a Benjamite, and they brought with them over 1,000 soldiers, and said, we want Samson. Samson was sitting on the hill eating. Just sitting there. Father and the countrymen said, Samson, the Philistines are down there. What's going on? They're going to attack us. They said, we got to deliver you, hands and feet tied. Samson said, all right, you can tie my hands, you can tie me up. He said, but don't you attack me. I'll make a stand. You can go ahead and take me, but don't you side with the world against the church.